Story 1. Christina Applegate. Terrible disease. Edit. I was at a dinner party when I posted this, and others at the party would like me to add Michael J. Fox and Bruce Willis. Story 2. The little boy from Star Wars Episode 1. An 8-year-old child receives hateful messages and death threats from adults for acting in a movie he did not write, direct, or produce. Adults targeted a child because they disapproved of his performance in their science fiction film. Story 3. The Coreys, one of whom is completely gone, and the other has been so traumatized that even if he is telling the complete truth, he sounds like a distressed person. I feel terrible for both of them. They did not deserve what happened to them. Story 4. Jeanette McCurdy was abused by her mother, and likely by Dan Schneider as well. Her mother even went so far as to send her a hate message from her own deathbed. Story 5. Barry Gibb has lost all 3 of his younger brothers. He once said he would give up everything, including fame and money, if he could have them back again. Story 6. Ahmed Best, the actor who portrayed Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars. Episode 1. The Phantom Menace, was harassed so severely for playing the role that he nearly committed suicide. He is doing better now and has appeared in other Star Wars projects as different characters since then. Story 7. Robin Williams, who was affected by a disease, and Chester Bennington, who succumbed to childhood trauma. Story 8. Robin Williams took his own life due to the deterioration of his mind caused by disease, not wanting to put his family through that. We lost a great individual. Story 9. The more information that comes out about Diddy, the more I am sure Bieber was taken advantage of. Poor kid. Let's also remember Aaron Carter. Story 10. Chadwick Boseman. To be fighting cancer at the biggest moment in his career must have been a difficult secret to keep. Every time I think about that photo he had to delete because people were making jokes, knowing what Black Panther meant to many and that he wasn't going to make it, my heart breaks for him. Story 11. Celine Dion has always found comfort in her voice. It has been her happy place throughout her life. The loss of her husband broke her heart. And now she is losing her voice and control over her body due to an incurable and progressive illness. It is heartbreaking that such a beautiful soul with a magical voice is losing everything she has ever loved. And there is nothing she can do to stop it. Story 12. Corey Feldman was mocked by a large crowd on the show. Yes, the sexual assault of a child is not something to take lightly. Story 13. Sinead O'Connor was incredibly talented, but everyone blacklisted her after the Saturday Night Live incident. Who would have thought people loved the Pope more than they opposed cover-ups for sex offenders in the Catholic Church? Story 14. Lindsay Lohan. Her parents are terrible. She called her father in a crisis, crying, and he recorded the call and sold it to a tabloid. Kurt Cobain. In many pictures, he looks not just depressed but also haunted. Something terrible happened to him. Story 15. Michael J. Fox and Bruce Willis, both immensely talented, are battling diseases that gradually take their abilities away. Story 16. Keanu Reeves. The poor man lost his girlfriend, daughter, sister, and best friend. Yet he remains one of the kindest souls, undeterred by events that would make anyone angry and bitter. I have never had the fortune to meet him, but I feel saddened reading about what he went through. Story 17. Amy Winehouse faced significant media intrusion, with the press taking and publishing distressing photos of her while she struggled with an eating disorder, addiction to various substances, and challenges in her relationships. Story 18. Pamela Anderson's private tape was stolen and made public by someone with a vendetta. Whatever nudity she displayed in public by choice has nothing to do with her private memories and personal property. Story 19. Monica Lewinsky was a young person who faced tremendous challenges due to a powerful individual. She endured a great deal of innuendo and insinuation as people rallied around Bill Clinton. For a long time, she became the target of jokes. It is encouraging to see that she has overcome these hardships, but I recall how cruelly people treated her during that period. Story 20. Any and all child stars have experienced significant challenges. I shudder to even imagine what those challenges were. Story 21. Britney Spears has faced immense challenges throughout her career. She endured humiliation, judgment, and hostility from the media, while the public's demands continued to grow. Overexposed and often exploited, this treatment had a profound impact on her life and career. Story 22. Julie Andrews is renowned for her singing roles but lost most of her vocal range and ability due to complications from surgery. While it may not be as tragic as some other stories, I cannot imagine how difficult that must be for a singer. Story 23. Lindsay Lohan faced significant challenges due to her upbringing. Her parents' issues affected her greatly, making it difficult for her to become a well-adjusted adult. Story 24. Aaliyah was preyed upon by older men in the industry. Almost 25 years after her passing, people are labeling her as promiscuous, when in reality, she was a victim. Similarly, Selena was also unable to live out her full potential. Regardless of where they would have been today, both women deserved the opportunity to continue their stories rather than having them prematurely ended. Story 25. Jason Becker, the guitar player, was struck by amyotrophic lateral sclerosis at the cusp of a huge career. The documentary about him is titled Not Dead Yet. Selena Gomez is another subject of discussion. I don't know much about her, but from the few interviews and shows I have seen, she seems really nice. However, it appears that no matter what she does, there is a massive backlash from critics. They ridicule her boyfriend, insult her weight when she gains some, and accuse her of using drugs when she loses weight regardless of whether she does or not. Ultimately, it is irrelevant. She is not promoting a weight loss supplement scam or anything of the sort. Story 26. Believe it or not, I actually felt really bad for Britney Spears after I read just how much of an exploitative person her father was. Shaving her head and all that mental stress is bad enough to face when you are not in the media, but for someone like Britney Spears, I think it would have been a factor of 10 times worse. Story 27. Aubrey Plaza. What happened to her was so shattering that I don't see how she can maintain her brilliant, disturbing performance art public persona. Story 28. I would also like to add Adam Ant to this list. He is a decent person but has bipolar disorder, which has led to a lot of criticism. However, he has a great deal of talent. Story 29. I feel sympathy for Hicks and especially for Kyle Reese, which makes it easier to feel for Michael Biehn. Story 30. Aubrey Plaza was with her husband for many years, but they separated, and while they were apart, he took his own life. My wife and I often mention how we hope she is doing okay. Story 31. Rebecca Black was a regular kid whose parents had some money, and she wanted to create a fun music video with her friends through a mall studio. However, the entire internet collectively and relentlessly criticized her for it. Story 32. When I heard the story about the voice actor who portrayed Disney's Peter Pan, Bobby Driscoll, I learned that nobody even knows where he is buried. Story 33. Shelley Duvall was mistreated by Stanley Kubrick while filming The Shining. She suffers from chronic mental health issues, and Dr. Phil publicly exploited and humiliated her. Story 34. Bruce Willis may not have been an incredible actor, but he starred in some of everyone's favorite films. It is difficult to see him slowly deteriorate away from who he was. I wish him and his family the best. Story 35. I know he has done a lot of questionable things, but Justin Bieber, I think it is clear there is a lot he hasn't said. Story 36. Like anyone who has been talked about negatively by the public, we don't truly know them. Despite highly biased tabloids, we don't actually have any real understanding of their situation. Imagine thousands of people saying truly hurtful things about you. It's just bullying, and it's very strange. Story 37. Probably unpopular, but Michael Jackson was likely a predator in his own right. However, his childhood was dysfunctional and abusive, to say the least. The man's mind was broken by the time he reached puberty. It is tragic. Story 38. JoJo Siwa never had a real childhood. An exploitative mother turned her into a character for profit, and now she is frequently ridiculed online for her unusual behavior, despite never having the opportunity to learn how to be a normal child, let alone an adult. Story 39. Michael J. Fox was very young when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and it has progressed significantly. Fortunately, he has a loving wife and family. Story 40. Paris Hilton's parents sent her to a school for troubled teens instead of providing proper parenting, and the way they did it was horrible. I never thought I would sympathize with her, but after reading her memoir, I found it to be truly heartbreaking. Story 41. Selena Gomez has lupus, which is a severe illness. The fact that she has already needed a kidney transplant indicates the seriousness of her condition, and it raises concerns about her long-term health. Story 42. Al Franken faced a political attack, and the Democrats abandoned him. I hope he makes a comeback. Story 43. Others I would have mentioned, but also among them is Terry Hall, who had a challenging life. I feel sad for him when I think of him. Joey Kramer is someone I hope has more happiness in his life. Story 44. Tim Curry has mentioned on several occasions that the paralyzing stroke he suffered in 2012 robbed him of his passion for acting. He has continued his career as a voice actor as much as possible, but it is painful to consider what other iconic roles he might have taken on if it weren't for his stroke. Story 45. It used to be Kanye. I felt bad when he was clearly unstable after his mother passed away, and his outbursts became more common. By now, you can probably guess that I no longer feel sympathy for celebrities. Story 46. Robert Downey Jr. came back from a terrible addiction to become a wonderful human being. For the rest of his life, he has to continue fighting his addiction. Story 47. Michael J. Fox faces severe tremors and stiffness that cause him significant emotional pain. I experience similar issues which lead to my own severe depression. However, I am not nearly as affected as he is, so I cannot imagine the physical and emotional pain he must endure. Story 48. Millie Bobby Brown. Every time I see a post featuring her, the comments are often unkind for no reason. People claim she looks much older, that she looks awful, is obnoxious, annoying, and full of herself when she is simply a regular girl being herself. It's ridiculous. Story 49. Michael J. Fox. I recently saw him in Designated Survivor. Although his movement was hindered and his voice a bit slurred, he was still believable as a smart aleck, slightly slimy lawyer. His illness has deprived all of us of his talent. Story 50. The Kardashian children, Kanye as a father, Kim as a mother. No amount of money in the world compares to addressing that level of generational trauma. Story 51. Justin Bieber. I had never given him much thought until the situation with Diddy, and now I feel so sad for him. No one protected him. Story 52. Laura Branigan. Life just kept giving her a taste and then knocking her down. Story 53. Rachel Zegler has become a figure representing the anti-woke sentiment of certain campaigns. Her actions, which are not wrong, are completely disproportionate to the hate she has received for months. She is young and talented, having just started her career a few years ago. I hope she stays strong. Story 54. For me, it's Gordon Ramsay because I always thought he was just this picky guy. However, looking at him now and knowing what he has to deal with constantly, I see things differently. Story 55. The ones swarmed by paparazzi. I know it's part of being famous, but it would probably drive me to the point of swinging at someone. Story 56. Chevy Chase. I understand he is notoriously difficult to work with, but he also spent part of his childhood locked in a basement. Story 57. If athletes matter, I would mention one Martin Del Potro. His body has been damaged by his career, and after his father passed away, he discovered that his fortune had been wasted on irresponsible business ventures. Story 58. Elliott Smith's music is incredibly heartfelt. Just by listening to his work, you can sense his struggles. Story 59. I don't feel bad for him, and I absolutely do not excuse anything he has done or said, but it seems like Kanye has serious mental health issues, and no one in his circle is able or willing to get him the help he needs. Story 60. I listened to Matthew Perry's autobiography and was struck by his insecurity, struggles with self-image, and battle with addiction. It was heartbreaking to know he lost that battle. I just wanted to hug him. I felt the same about Chris Farley. Knowing he pleaded with that woman not to leave him, yet died alone on the floor, is deeply saddening. Story 61. Kate Garraway's husband contracted long COVID, which left him bedridden. When he eventually returned home from the hospital, he was unable to speak or do anything he had previously managed. Sadly, she eventually lost Derek to long COVID. Some cruel individuals online often accuse her of profiting from his illness simply because she produced documentaries that highlight the struggles faced by those affected by long COVID. Story 62. Probably an unpopular opinion, but Kanye has severe mental health problems and has nobody genuine on his side looking out for him. He seems to be surrounded by people who are leading him toward negative influences. He appears very vulnerable, to be honest. Story 63. Judy Garland, Joan Crawford, and Frances Farmer were all actresses from the studio system of the 1930s, 1940s, and 1950s. It is incredibly sad how the industry chewed them up and spit them out, especially Judy Garland. Story 64. Michelle Williams always breaks my heart after Heath Ledger. I know they were not together at the time, but still. Story 65. The Olsen twins have been in the entertainment industry since childhood. They earned millions from the films they produced, merchandise, and fashion lines. Now, they appear to live happier lives away from the spotlight, focusing on their successful and costly fashion line. However, people still make comments about their appearances. I can only hope they are doing well and are happy. Story 66. Amanda Bynes is often criticized for her appearance, yet many seem unaware of her serious mental health struggles, which include episodes of psychosis. Story 67. I would say Brendan Fraser went through so much, from injuries to being blacklisted in Hollywood, yet he remained humble and kind. It is great to see him finally getting the recognition he deserves again. Story 68. I feel bad for Lindsay Lohan. She is a perfect example of child actors spiraling out of control because of their early fame. Story 69. Corey Feldman went through nearly 20 years of being used, abused, sexually assaulted, and subjected to multiple thefts of his money. His best friend, who helped him overcome drug addiction, tragically took his own life. Another close friend was falsely labeled as a child molester by the media. This led Corey to become addicted to drugs and develop severe trust issues, depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. When he spoke out about the sexual abuse he endured in Hollywood as a child, he was mocked and ridiculed by the media and other professionals. Barbara Walters dismissively stated, "If you say these things, it could ruin people's careers," completely ignoring the fact that he was a victim subjected to abuse for over a decade. He had to emancipate himself from his parents, who were physically abusive, struggled with addiction, and stole his earnings. At just 15, he was on his own, having lost his family and friends, and turned to drugs, resulting in the loss of nearly everything in his life. Now, as a 53-year-old man, he has found joy in being an artist again and is making music, something he loved in his youth. He was mentored by Michael Jackson on performing and cherished every aspect of it. Unfortunately, he is often criticized for his performance abilities and ridiculed in the media. However, despite this negativity, he is doing something that makes him happy. After enduring 45 years of abuse, he has finally found fulfillment, which has allowed him to reconnect with his children. People who have met him, including fans, describe him as one of the nicest and kindest celebrities to engage with. He is genuine in his interactions and strives to make others feel noticed and special when they meet him. He is also a vocal advocate for child abuse awareness and speaks out against it whenever possible. While I feel disappointed by how people portray him now, I don't pity him as a person. He is living his best life at this moment, and that is an aspiration for anyone. We should view him as a symbol of hope and happiness, despite the worst experiences the universe can present. Story 70. OG Mako, rest in peace, developed necrotizing fasciitis after being improperly treated for a minor rash. Story 71. Justin Bieber did not deserve the years of hate and ridicule he received. Imagine the entire internet bullying you relentlessly during your most formative years. I know he has faced some struggles, but I am truly surprised that he managed as well as he did. Story 72. Many gay actors from the pre-1990s era, such as Rock Hudson, Robert Reed, Dick Sargent, and Jim Nabors, did not have the worst lives, but they had to hide their true identities for so long, facing high stakes. This secrecy affected their friendships since the speculation surrounding their lives was dangerous. Tabloid culture needs to end. Story 73. Mackenzie Phillips was abandoned by her father, John Phillips, when she was 16 years old. He introduced her to drugs and had an incestuous relationship with her. Story 74. Alec Baldwin gets caught up in a death, and his wife appears to be an unpleasant person to be married to. Story 75. This may be an unpopular opinion, but Kanye West is a complex individual. I have worked with him, and he often straddles the line between genius and eccentricity. As he ages, his eccentricity increasingly dominates his behavior. I see parallels to Bobby Fischer, who lost his grasp on reality and became a polarizing figure without the support he needed. Those who continue to profit from Kanye are often unscrupulous individuals, feeding him the belief that his ideas are reasonable. If he were anyone else, people would recognize that he has lost his way and needs help and compassion, despite his outlandish statements. He is struggling with mental health issues. Unlike Britney Spears, who is often met with compassion and empathy for her struggles, Kanye's past confidence seems to overshadow the support he might need to navigate his current challenges. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.